Hello and welcome to the Lunchbox, the show where we hope to scratch your nerdy itch. I'm your host Lou, and joined today by the ever-talkative Uspa.
Hi.
So Uspa, how's your week?
Good.
Looks like I'll be doing most of the talking.
Yes.
What else did you do?
Stuff.
Okay. So I watched Voltron, season 6 and 7, whatever the last two seasons were.
Voltron.
They're pretty good. Actually think I like it more than the original. Which is, you know, I love the original, but I really like this too.
A fresh touch on the franchise.
Anyway, today on the show we have part 2 of Denis Ortiz. This time he will be demoing painting the miniatures. And as always, we have Andre hooking us up with the comic reviews. But first, some news and stuff.
Yes.
So recently, Marvel announced their 1-week-long film festival featuring all 20 films, I think. It starts at August 30th to September the 6th, I think. And it looks like they're gonna show all 20 of their films in IMAX. How do you feel about that? Any movies that you haven't seen that you wanna see? Just, would you watch this film festival?
Excited.
That's awesome. Maybe something more than just one word?
Ready. Excited.
All right.
Nah, seriously. It's good for them to run it for like all the film in the franchise. Because, as I remember, 2008, first Iron Man came out. It was a pretty great movie. Still great by today's standards. I'm just wondering how they're gonna do that, because in a week, 20 movies.
It's 10 days. I think they're gonna do like a few films a day.
Yeah, but what's about repeats? What's about passes? Are there gonna be any passes?
We will figure those details out.
And
eventually.
probably we're gonna put some picture.
Yeah. What else do we have?
Pictures. So apparently Venom, the movie, gonna be PG-13. I am not happy,
Why not?
because I'm sad.
Why are you sad?
Because PG-13
Well,
plus Venom equals not happy Uspa.
well, also it doesn't have Spider-Man. Well, they were thinking of maybe having Spider-Man as a cameo, but I think it's just a rumor.
Spoiler alert, Spider-Man is dead.
No,
For now he is.
he's just snap out of existence. You know they're filming Spider-Man away from home, something like that. So he's coming back.
Yeah, apparently he's coming back. Like,
No,
it's
he
obvious.
is coming back. There.
Okay, it's obvious he's coming back.
Thank you, Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
So you're not a fan of the Venom trailer?
I'm a fan of Venom trailer, but according to the trailer, it doesn't look like PG-13. The whole transformation.
It looks kind of
The transformation is pretty scary.
like.
Because as I remember, Spider-Man, the animated series, I believe it was like 99, 2000.
Yeah.
The Venom was pretty much noir character. He was.
I agree.
Plus, see, your point, like, there is no Spider-Man, I kind of agree with that, because Venom is very supportive as a character, so you're supposed to have a hero, and Venom gonna perfectly merge the chemistry between Spider-Man and Venom pretty great. But in Marvel Universe now, Spider-Man is a kid. As a Venom, more like adult character.
True. Because he was working with the. Well, no, he's always been working at Daily Bugle, but we ripped stuff.
Yeah, so plus Hardy as a Venom.
You like it or no?
Yes, I like it. But to be honest, Hardy's best work is not.
This is your ally. You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
It's not PG-13.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't think he's gonna shine in this.
Really? I think he's gonna do okay, actually. It's just me, but I think he's gonna do okay.
Because, okay, we have Venom and we have Spider-Man in one movie. So half of the movie you're gonna establish a Venom. It's been done so many times. And I don't know. I think it's kind of a good idea to give him his own movie to establish the character, develop him, like the conflict between personalities, how Venom absorbs Hardy's character. And after that, you introduce a Spider-Man as a kid, naive, pretty much, and you have this gruesome Venom, who's basically an adult.
Eddie Brock.
Yeah, he's basically an adult.
Yes, I agree.
And he's been kicked
I
out.
can be Uspa now. Yes.
Yes. He's been kicked out by life, so he has like this angry personality, and you have on the opposite side you have this naive kid. It's gonna be a great chemistry.
Yes.
Yes. Please
Anyway.
continue.
Anyway, we still have that X-Men debacle, because as you know, Fox will be transferring over to Disney. Last week they were talking about the X-Men Dark Phoenix reshoots are taking 3 months, and then I think Collider reported that it was actually just 3 weeks. Is this kind of? Are you still excited, even though after it goes to Marvel or Disney, they're gonna probably scrap it, or they might not. They might start over.
Yes.
Do they like it?
Yes.
So he's still excited. So in a way, if you talk about Venom, you make Uspa talk.
Yes.
So that is it for our news and stuff. Hopefully it made sense.
No.
So after the break, we are going to have part 2 of Denis Ortiz as he makes miniature paintings that looks oh so good. When we come back.
Tales from the dark web.
So, like, this one time I went onto something called, like, the dark web, because Karen told me that there was revenge porn on there or something, but turned out to just be weird men acting with, like, a cop.
Hey you guys.
Hey you guys, welcome to part 2. Here I'll be demonstrating on how to paint Warhammer miniature. Some of the techniques we're going to be going through is how to properly apply the airbrushing skills with paints. We'll be going through different weathering techniques. Here are some of the materials we're going to be using today. We're going to go each step. I'm going to be going through one by one, so don't worry, you guys are going to be able to easily follow, and hopefully by when it's done, you guys are gonna be able to have a good looking miniature on the battlefield. All right, so at first you're gonna need, of course, a miniature. Here I took a Rhino, Space Marine Rhino, so we're gonna be painting them ultramarine. So it's gonna be blue. Usually when you assemble it, it's gonna be around this color, which is look a little bit grayish. So I already kind of primed it, so you're gonna use a primer. So you don't need to use an airbrush. Usually you can buy them in cans, which I find it much better because it's really hard to clean airbrushes when using a primer. So if you have the chance, just buy a spray can of a primer and just spray it. Yeah. So usually what you need the primer for is so that the paint doesn't come off. So once you paint it, if you don't use the primer, the paint is gonna be easily chipped. So whatever art you do on the plastic, If you don't prime the model properly, like your work is just going to go to waste and just going to come off eventually. So make sure to always use a primer. So we're going to be using acrylic colors. Here I'm going to be using Vallejo. I'm going to be actually mixing them, but you can also buy Vallejo that's already pre-made for the airbrush. But I actually wanted to show you guys how to pre-mix the paints. That's why I'm going to be using these paints. All right, so here we have an oil paint, and oils are really harsh. What we're going to be using the oil for is to make a wash. And to make a wash, usually you need the spirit to dilute the oil, because the water separates from the oil-based paints. That's why you need the spirit. So we're going to be using those to make a wash later on after the model is painted. Here we have micro set and micro soil. We use them for the transfers. So whenever we want to put some kind of like a sticker on the miniature, one basically makes the transfer a little bit the decal softer, and the other one, it makes the decal stick much more easier to the surface when you apply it. Here I have different types of pigments, and what pigments are used for is for weathering effects. So they're a little bit dusty. So what you use the MIG pigment fixer for is to make them stick to the miniature, so the powders don't come off. Here we have a matte varnish. What it does, it seals all the paint. So once you finish your final product, you want to seal it so nothing basically comes off. It's going to be really hard for somebody like with greasy hands to ruin your artwork. So this is kind of the final product when you finish with everything that you worked so hard to accomplish. Also, it's really good for the decals as well, because decals usually when you put on a miniature, they are very glossy. So what happens is they stand out, so they don't look realistic. So this one kind of combines the paint with the glossy stickers, and it makes them look like somebody drew instead of putting a sticker on a miniature. And of course, the most important when it comes to airbrushing is just a cup of water or airbrush thinner. Usually I use both, but airbrush thinner, it's a priceless product. Basically what it does is instead of water, it has a better separation of pigments. So it thins the paints a little bit much better than water. So if you're kind of new, I would totally recommend using an airbrush thinner when diluting paints. So now we're going to be starting to paint a miniature. I'm going to be going through each stage. So enjoy, guys, and hopefully you can follow me and you can try it on your own at home.
We will be using the darkest color as our base. From this point on, every other color that we'll be using will be going up in scale of lighter color. In this instance, we'll be using paint by Vallejo called Dark Blue. It is very important to shake the paint before using it. Make sure you shake it well so all the paint pigments are all mixed. There are some airbrush paints that are already pre-mixed that can go straight into your airbrush to be used immediately. This paint is not one of these paints, so we'll be diluting it with water. Second part is to find a lighter color. Here I will be using paint color by Vallejo called Ultramarine Blue. Once again, we will shake our paint to get all the paint pigments mixed, and then we will dilute it with water for the airbrush use. Make sure to get the right consistency when diluting. When painting the miniature with the second color, we will try to cover most of the miniature with Ultramarine Blue, except for any recesses of the vehicle. In this part, we'll be using a painting method called highlighting. This method will bring even more dimensions to the vehicle and make your miniature really pop. I will be using two colors by Vallejo called Ultramarines Blue and Bleach Bone. We will mix the two paints together before diluting it with water. The ratio of the two paints is 4:1, so that means you will use 4 drops of Ultramarines Blue and 1 drop of Bleached Bone. In part 4, we will be applying decals. Two great products that are specially designed for applying decals are Microset and Microsoil. First, you cut out the decal you want to put on the miniature. Then, put the decal into warm water for about 15 to 20 seconds. While the decal is soaking in water, apply Microset on the part you want the decal to go. Make the area fully wet in Microset. Take out the decal out of the water with some tweezers. Carefully bring it into the area you applied Microset and start gradually pulling out the decal from the piece of paper it's on to the desired area you have applied Microset. Weathering is the next part. For the chipping method, I will be using Ultramarines Blue and Bleach Bone 2:1 ratio. Once the paints were mixed, I soaked the sponge into the paint. I dabbed it on a piece of paper to remove the excess paint from the sponge. When I'm happy with the amount of paint left, I will start going around the vehicle, dabbing the sponge on the raised edges where the vehicle is most likely to get scratches. You can also use fine detail brush to add more scratches and details by hand. When doing it by hand, it is more time consuming, but I do find it yields better results. You can always combine the two methods. In part 6 of the video, I taped the miniature and spray painted the tracks with black color paint. The tape was used so I don't accidentally paint over all my hard work with black color. On hard to reach areas, I used the brush to paint the rest of the track. For the vents on top of the vehicle, I used Vallejo metal color. I also added some metal on different parts of the vehicle that looked to have some kind of ancient looking parts. Paint job was complete. We sealed it in matte varnish to protect our hard work from greasy fingers. Make sure to shake the matte varnish very thoroughly before applying it. My other recommendation is that if you have an expensive airbrush, get yourself a cheap one which can be around $12 to $18 and run any varnish through the cheap airbrush. When spraying the varnish, try to do it fast. Do not take too long in the spray process. It is very fast drying, and if you keep spraying and layering while it's drying, the results can be a bit undesirable. In the last part of the video, I added some weathering pigments on the tracks to give it a muddy look. You can use weathering pigments sold at your closest hobby store. There are many different colors and you can mix them to give you a desired look. It can be from wet mud to dry mud to desert sand and everything in between. Whichever weathering effect you want on the tracks of your vehicle, you can find the weathering pigments at your local hobby stores. Because weathering pigments is a powder, it will not stay on the model. And if you try to seal it with a varnish, the airbrush will blow away the powder before it has a chance to apply the varnish. Use pigment sealer. I use an eyedropper to apply on the areas where the pigment powder is located. Once dried, pigments become better attached to the miniature. It is then possible to fully seal it with a second coat of varnish once all the pigments are applied on the vehicle.
Tales from the dark web. Is this mic on? I went to the dark web once and I saw this site of a German guy that sold pretzels. Turned out he actually just sold pretzels. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Lunchbox. Hopefully you enjoyed Denis Ortiz's miniature painting. Hopefully you learned stuff. I know Uspa bought some tags for him to paint. And now,
Yes.
weren't you gonna do stuff now?
Oh, I'm gonna do crafts.
He's gonna do crafts.
Crafts.
And after that, our weekly comic book review with Andre from Heroes World.
Yes. Hello and welcome to DIY Room. Today we're gonna do 8-bit stylized crafts from beads. It is very simple, but it all depends on your imagination. We are going to do a small piece, but you can do poster size image using this method. Here at Lunchbox we are trying to keep our DIYs on the budget, and you don't need a whole workshop to do something like that. Before you start, please plan. Make some drawings, or don't. Who am I to tell you what to do? lay down your pattern, cover it with a baking sheet and apply hot iron. Be careful and don't hold it for a long time. A couple minutes should be enough. Remember, after you remove iron, give your craft some time to cool off. Like melted plastic, what did you expect really? And here we go, fast and easy. You can use it as a badge or coaster or frame or a gift to someone, or just keep it and enjoy.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to my segment of the Lunchbox. It's Andre, and I'm going to give you the lowdown on a few great comics this week. First up, if you're an X-Men fan, you've got to pick up Marvel's new Extermination #1. If you've been following the X-Men, you know that the Beast brought back young versions of the X-Men to kind of correct the timeline to show them the errors of their way. But now in this series, somebody is hunting them down. Wow, thrills, excitement, and characters from the past. The mutant hell hunter Ahab comes in and he gives Scott Summers a run for his money, and we've had 2 casualties of war. Great art in this series. It's going to be a 5-issue limited series, and I bet you the X-Men universe won't be the same. Brian Michael Bendis brings his Jinx World imprint to DC Comics as he's now working for them, and we have our first installment in a new book called Pearl. Wow. This book had some great art because he's teamed back up with his fellow creator that helped create Jessica Jones. That's right, the same team that brought us Alias is now doing this book called Pearl, and it's got tattoos, it's got Yakuza, and a crazy cool character with a unique ability, but we don't know quite what it's all about. So, highly recommend this book. Even though it's a little bit ominous, a little bit mysterious, I'm sure Bendis will deliver. That's Pearl #1 by DC Comics Jinx World imprint. If you're a Batman fan, you definitely know about Batman 66. That's right, the heartfelt, fun-loving Batman series from the 60s teams up with a cool other comic book character in Archie. Yep, DC teams up with Archie to bring us Archie Meets Batman 66. And wow, what a fun, colorful, awesome book. So if you know this series, it's all about fun, it's all about laughs, and same thing with the Riverdale gang. But the villains of Gotham are tired of getting caught by Batman, so they move over to Riverdale because they think it's easy pickings. And the young kids of Riverdale High know for sure that they need to get help, and they turn to the Cape Crusader. Once again, excellent art, fun stories, and maybe we're going to see the potential for Archie Andrews to be Robin. So a fun-loving book. I highly recommend it. It's fun for all ages. Those are my 3 picks, and I'm going to kick it back to you at the studio.
And that is it for us this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Please check out our socials. My name is Lou.
And I'm Uspa.
See you again next week.